Halo, ketemu lagi saat ini mamanya Gabriel yang opening. Sekarang kita mau menyaksikan, pokoknya begitu deh. 15 dumb people who give natural selection to the middle finger. I don't understand how to do it, but kita start you right now.
Let's go.
Let's go. Choose nih ya.
Enggak, bukan yang satunya lagi.
Okay.
Nah,
Selection was first coined by Charles Darwin as an antithesis to artificial selection. The idea is a key mechanism of evolution.
Itu
Simply
apa?
put, stupid people and animals
Yo.
shouldn't survive. To
Yes.
aku selalu kepengen gini tapi nggak berani. Soalnya mama pasti marahin aku.
Iya, of course dong, beli mahal. Ini ngapain nih?
These are dumb people who gave natural selection the middle finger.
Kan nggak boleh ada orang di depan tuh. Menakutkan juga tuh yang itu.
Number 15. Subway Surfers in Real Life.
Oh my
Subway
God.
Surfers is a mobile game following Jake and his buddies outpacing a security guard, grabbing gold, and getting up to general mischief on train tracks.
Ada
It's just a
aja ya
game,
kalau
but
ada
did you know it's
kereta
also
depan.
something people do in real life? We don't know whether to be impressed or just dumbfounded at their stupidity.
Oh,
A
dia
group
lari
of
nih, ada
friends is
kereta dari
exploring a
belakang.
Iya.
graffiti-covered train tunnel just for something to do. They're going at a leisurely pace, even though the train tunnel is pitch black and they can't see anything. As they reach near the end of the tunnel, they notice lights. That can only mean one thing. A train is coming.
Nah, tapi dikerjain. Ini udah
It
banyak yang
became
kayak
a race
gini.
against time to get out of the tunnel before the train came.
Ah.
They sprint as fast as they can to reach the light at the end of the tunnel, figuratively and literally. Just
Nggak
as
bisa
the
ada,
train
dia
arrives
bisa
at the
berhenti,
tunnel's
kan?
entrance, they make it out and watch
Oh.
as the train zooms past them. The person running with the camera dives onto the ground, which looks pretty uncomfortable with the large rocks bordering the tracks. Fortunately, they are minor injuries compared to what they could have been. Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now, it's time for the odd topic. I mean, you don't need us to tell you that the two people in this photo were seriously stupid when they thought that doing this would be a good idea.
Sampai
There's
ngeliat
absolutely
ke
no
atas.
respect for
Waktu waktu. Ayo kita jangan ketawa.
Enggak, maksudnya bahaya lah ini. Anak.
Yang satu kasihan tuh anak, yang kedua kasihan tuh motornya sebenarnya. Aduh.
Aduh, kita mulai lagi. I have no comment about this one.
Kita nggak boleh ketawa. Soalnya kita punya masalah yang sama.
Yeah.
Or even both of these two would have tumbled off the bike and hurt themselves quite badly. Yet they both live to tell the tale and presumably continue to do equally dumb stuff as this every day. Their vote counts just as much as yours. Comment down below with the hashtag #OddTopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on. Woman falls into sidewalk hole. Cell phones are part of everyday life now.
Dia
Just look
begitu,
down any
pakai
busy city street. How many
handphone.
people do you see not using or holding a cell phone? Even the
Oh,
older generations
bahaya
now getting
kan?
on board. But some of them may not have mastered the art of multitasking that well. One 67-year-old woman proved that when she fell into a
67-year-old lady.
sidewalk cellar in New Jersey because she pulled out her phone at the wrong time. The moment was caught on surveillance footage. In her defense, the sidewalk doors are generally not open. Utility workers had been repairing gas lines and had opened the doors to access the cellar of a business called Acme Windows. The woman could be seen in the footage looking at her phone before hitting the doors and subsequently falling into the
Aduh,
basement.
untung
She
ada
fell
orang,
over
ada
6
saksi loh.
feet. According to the woman's son who saw the footage, he was so grateful his mother survived her ordeal. He said she wasn't your everyday distracted cell phone user, but instead
Serious?
she had pulled out her phone to check the time. He said she was also diabetic with vision problems. The surveillance footage also showed fire crews taking her out of the basement on a stretcher. According to NBC New York, she went to the hospital in serious condition.
Aduh.
Number 13.
Iyalah udah
Ski
67
trip
tahun.
to Isle Royale goes wrong. When a man from Alexandria, Virginia borrowed a jet ski from his friend to travel from Grand Portage to Isle Royale, he expected the trip to go relatively smoothly. He had ridden for several hours in the right direction, but hit fog that sent him off course. He quickly became lost and had very little fuel left. Even though reception was patchy, he managed to call his friend who owned the jet ski to alert him to his predicament. The friend called the sheriff's office, who then contacted the U.S. Coast Guard. A helicopter was dispatched, and the Michigan State Police were contacted, given that Isle Royale is a part of Michigan. Efforts failed to track his cell phone signal, but direct contact with the man meant they could get a rough idea of his GPS coordinates. A ship 15 miles away from his location was sent to pick him up, along with his jet ski. The man was in good spirits and relatively unharmed, and the weather conditions were fair. Though, even if you made it to Isle Royale, you may have been in hot water. Watercraft are prohibited on and around the entire island, including Isle Royale National Park. Number 12. Abandoned Water Park Experience. Visit any water park during its opening hours, and you'll likely see everything running smoothly. First of all, there's water, which is pretty necessary at all. There are also workers to make sure everyone can access the attractions safely. If you visit an abandoned water park, your experience is probably going to be much different, and it definitely was for a group of friends who visited one side. You'll definitely notice that there's a lack of water at this park, so going down a water slide will be a far different experience than what it would be like if there was water. One man attempts to go down a steep water slide that you'd probably usually use with some kind of flotation device. Instead, he goes down the dry, bumpy concrete slide in just his clothing. He's gonna have an incredibly sore spine in the days after his experience. He goes down the slide, he hits bumps that throw him into the air and back down again. Rather than letting the water take the impact, it's his spine on concrete that does. When he reaches the end, he then slides across the gravel and dirt at the bottom. 1 star. Definitely not visit. Number 11. Virus fighting scientist gets magnets stuck in his nose. When you hear of someone getting magnets stuck in their nose, you picture a curious toddler who's been left unattended in front of the fridge. What you don't expect is a smart astrophysicist. That actually happened. Australian astrophysicist Dr. Daniel Reardon was trying to create a device that may be able to stop people from catching the coronavirus or COVID-19. His device was a necklace that would react if you put your hands near your face. As you can imagine by his subsequent hospital visit, his invention didn't quite work out. At first, Dr. Reardon noticed that the necklace kept buzzing until you put a magnet up to it. He decided to play around with the magnets. He put them on his earlobes, then his nostrils, almost like a magnetic form of piercing. The magnet in his first nostril was harmless for the doctor, but the second, well, not so much. The two together in his nostrils. In an attempt to pull them apart, he used 2 more magnets, which ended up also getting stuck. Even pliers wouldn't help, as they were attracted to the magnets. He ended up attending a hospital where his partner worked, and doctors were able to free the magnets. Number 10. Man tries to kiss cobra. We all know where this is gonna go. If there's one thing you shouldn't do, it's kiss a venomous snake. You'd think we would all know better, but apparently not. On Christmas Eve last year, Bhadravati city residents in Karnataka spotted an Indian cobra, which they knew to be incredibly venomous. Rather than risk anyone being infected, they called upon the local snake catcher, Sonu, to take care of the problem. But Sonu had been a bit too merry on that particular Christmas Eve. Instead of being a snake catcher, he considered himself a bit of a snake charmer, full of liquid courage. He sidled up to the snake and tried to kiss it. The snake, clearly annoyed by his advances, gave him one back, but with teeth. Sonu stumbled back after the attack and was bleeding from his face as he was rushed to the hospital. He ended up having to be hospitalized and had anti-venom medication injected into his lips. Thanks to the timely treatment, he survived the ordeal. His lips were incredibly swollen, and he said he was in excruciating pain for weeks.
Kok bisa rasa sakit? Jagoan tadi.
Unexpected turn. People fight. It's something that's been happening for centuries, though probably not in the same way this fight played out. Someone filmed an altercation taking place between a man on the balcony and someone on the ground. You can only see the man on the terrace in the footage until the very end, where the other man is seen walking away. The fight starts with the man on the ground throwing items up at the man on the balcony. He misses, but it encourages the man on the balcony to fight back. He rushes into his apartment to grab something to throw, and that's where things go wrong. Not only does he miss the person he's arguing with, but the momentum of the throw sends him tumbling over the edge. He lands with a thud on the street below. While the man suffered mild injuries, he lived to tell the tale. You never know, this incident may have taught him that you don't necessarily have the upper hand by being on higher ground. You may just need risk of harm instead. Number 8. Tourist sites packed after lockdown ends. Let's face it, we've seen a lot of people act in ways they probably shouldn't during this whole pandemic situation. So this is yet another example of one of those. After a lockdown was lifted in China, people went absolutely crazy. They were finally free from their homes, which they assumed meant they were free from the risk of catching COVID-19 as well. We definitely knew that's not the case. But that didn't stop tens of thousands of people flocking to popular Chinese tourist sites simply because it allowed them to be outside. That was even after health authorities said the risk posed by the virus is still high. Many turned up to popular destinations in masks, but not everyone did. Images hit the internet of people at Huangshan Mountain Park in Anhui Province being completely packed by people, with social distancing far from their minds. Even before authorities issued a notice stating that the park had reached its 20,000 person capacity and no one else would be let in that day. Number 7. Leaping into pools doesn't always go right. There are videos all across the internet of people jumping from great heights into swimming pools. They clamber onto their house roofs, balconies, and other high places, believing with 100% confidence that they'll nail the jump, get the math right, and make it safely into the water. In most of the videos, you'll see that these stunts are carried out successfully. Everyone's cheering and more people line up to have it done. It doesn't always go right. When it goes wrong, it can go really, really wrong.
Iya. Nah.
In 2013, the then 19-year-old Nicole Easton jumped from the roof of her home in Phoenix, intending to land in the water. Her friend had leaped first successfully, so she decided to give it a go. Her friend encouraged her, and they jump hand in hand. The friend lands safely, but Nicole doesn't. She lands feet first on the concrete instead. In the jump,
kakinya naik ke atas, sudah rusak.
Bones in both of her feet. Her mother posted a video of the accident, saying she wished she never watched it, but she wanted to post it, hoping that someone planning on doing something similar would reconsider. Number 6. Train driver scares railway track walkers. When you're out for a walk with friends, it's easy to forget about your surroundings and focus purely on the conversation you're having. In most cases, that's not a problem.
Oh my god,
walking on train tracks. Tracks that are used multiple times a day. Would have thought trains. Footage was taken by train drivers who noticed two women walking on the tracks in front of them. Fortunately, they saw them from a great distance away, so were able to travel at a snail's pace behind them. It wasn't until they got within mere feet of them that they realized the women weren't gonna move, though there still wasn't a lot of danger because they weren't gonna hit them. They filmed themselves using the train's horn to signal that they were behind the women. They then broke out in hysterics as both women leaped off the tracks in opposite directions, clearly terrified by their near-death experience. The train drivers waved towards the women and carried on. Even though this situation didn't end in tragedy, it made the train drivers think twice about doing it again.
Lagi jalan di situ.
5. Another use for a gun. When someone becomes a member of law enforcement, they go through a lot of gun training. After all, one accidental oopsie and it can be game over for someone. And gun training doesn't just end as soon as you become a cop. It's ongoing. You have to go to the shooting range and stay up to date with safety protocols. Clearly, this Johannesburg Metro Police officer missed the memo on safe gun
dia pinter sih.
Tapi itu bisa meledak kok.
Tapi kan nggak ada yang megang ininya kecuali ada yang iseng.
A photographer happened to snap the photo, and gun safety officials everywhere were furious.
Yeah.
The recoil pad of the shotgun leaning against the ground, and the barrel leaning against his bottom. We hope the gun wasn't loaded, but can you imagine if it were and something went wrong? He wouldn't be able to sit down for weeks if he even survived to tell the tale. After the photo was shared with the Johannesburg Metro Police Department, the chief superintendent spoke out. He said the conduct displayed in the image would be investigated. He went on to say that sitting on your weapon is contrary to the proper handling procedure of such a weapon. Number 4. Gun fails. If there's one thing you never want to do wrong, it's anything involving a gun. There is such little room for error that being responsible at all times is literally a matter of life and death. These people could do with a bit of further training.
Iya.
Semua orang soalnya tahu dipasang dulu stannya baru dipasang senjatanya.
Enggak, mungkin terlalu kuat. Itu udah dipasang stannya.
Enggak, seharusnya stannya diberdiriin dulu, baru ditaruh senjata atasnya.
Jangan deket-deket para di muka. Begitu lagi. Jelas dong.
Aduh, itu tonggosnya masuk lagi di sana.
Itu udah ditabok tuh.
Wearing a fluorescent vest makes you a responsible hunter, but it doesn't make you a smart one. If you're faced with a jammed gun, don't literally face it. This guy learned that the hard way when pointing a gun at his head while trying to unjam it. Fortunately, the bullet hit the top of his cap and launched it off his head, but by his reaction, it clearly hurt. Number 3. Teen plane stowaway. Dumb decisions often have awful consequences, but many people walk away unharmed. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for 14-year-old Keith Sapsford from Australia back in the 1970s. The young boy had itchy feet and wanted to see the world. His dad, Charles, said his son always wanted to be on the move and was a curious lad. After returning from an overseas vacation, it was clear that Keith wasn't happy to be back in Australia. He really hoped that by putting him in a Roman Catholic school, he could learn about discipline and formalized structure. But Keith hated it and escaped after 2 weeks. He headed off to Sydney Airport, where he decided to hitch a ride out of the country in the wheel well of a plane. Keith's dad had previously spoken about a Spanish boy who had tried that and died, but Keith clearly believed he would be okay. Except he wasn't. After positioning himself in the wheel well of a Tokyo-bound he fell 200 feet to his death after the plane took off, not realizing that the wheel compartment reopens to retract the wheels. Number 2. Octopus attacks live streamer. Video blogger Seaside Girl Little 7 on a video platform called Kuaishou got what commenters stated as being what she deserved. That might sound harsh, but
dia suka gitu, aduh.
The girl, who commenters say was clearly trying to make herself famous, attempted to eat an octopus while it was still alive. But the octopus wasn't having any of that. As she prepares to take a bite, the octopus suctions onto her face. At first, she's relatively calm and explains how hard the octopus is sucking.
Serem banget
sih. Then she begins to panic as it uses plenty of its 280 suckers on its tentacles to latch onto her face. By the time she she finds that it has left small wounds. She then explains that her face is disfigured and that she'll attempt to eat it in the next video. But to be honest, not only is that incredibly cruel, but a mature giant Pacific octopus is not a sea creature to be messed with. They contain toxins within their digestive glands and tissues. These are thought to come from the prey and have led to liver damage, system changes, and death in other exposed animals. They are also massive. Number 1. Cop tasers 65-year-old woman. It It sounds pretty bad. A cop tasering a 65-year-old woman. But she's not just some feeble old lady who was going about her own business. This cop pretty much did everything by the book, and it just so happened that his processes didn't suit the lady he had an altercation with. In Cashion, Oklahoma, a police officer pulled over a woman for having a broken taillight. He then issued her an $80 ticket, which she refused to sign. She said she doesn't believe she deserves to pay $80 for something fixable.
That I deserve to pay $80 for something that is fixable.
The cop asks her to get out of the vehicle, but she refused. Instead, she drove off. The police officer followed her, and the woman eventually pulled up in a parking lot. The officer approaches her with a gun and pulls her out of the truck. She proceeds to kick the officer before he is forced to use his stun gun, since she won't put her hands behind her back. Fortunately, both the officer and the woman are okay. Still, she attempted to explain why she chose to assault the officer. Yeah, I did try to kick you because I'm a country girl, because I didn't like being thrown on the ground. We're actually dumbfounded at how some of these people managed to survive doing the insane things they did. I mean, who would try to...
Salah, bukan yang itu.
See a video about...
Oke semuanya, terima kasih telah menonton video ini. Terima kasih Mama yang mau nemenin aku nonton video ini. Terima kasih juga kalian yang sudah setia menonton video ini. Nah, guys, jangan lupa untuk like, share, dan komen video ini. Dan jangan lupa untuk subscribe dan turn notification di channel gue agar tidak ketinggalan di video-video berikutnya. Nah, kita ketemu lagi di video berikutnya guys. Bye-bye.